This is Gandalf the Grey, and I listen to the Blaggin podcast. And you should as well. Fool of a took.
That's just silly. That's just stupid. We can't do that.
We interrupt your usual programming for a podcast in the art of bullshittery.
Are we live? Oh, damn.
This is us.
This is us. Ladies and gentlemen, Blaggin It podcast. They said it could not be done, and that is exactly why we did it. That's my intro.
It's good.
I am host number one, Chaynes, and with my good guy right here, who is also a full-time...
I'm a full-time actor, full-time author, and part-time insert third job title here.
Great, and we are here for episode 5, I believe. Yes, episode 5. Tom, how are we doing, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, Chris. We're doing something a bit different today. Obviously, to start with,
It feels really weird.
It
feels really weird. Yeah.
the control freak in me is like,
oh my god!
Didn't do that. What's he do? But the Buddhist in me is saying, give up the illusion of control and let it be.
Okay.
We're also not sat on creaky chairs for once. Where are we?
Yeah, we've decided to sit in Tom's dining room floor. It's a very interesting feeling, to be honest. It's weird how this feels different.
Yes, there's so much more space.
Yes.
No? The peripheral vision. We've lit some candles. I've put some incense oils in a burner.
We've got the vibes on full throttle
It's
right now.
vibey, and the reason why we've done this is because today you wanted to talk about a particular topic, and and then before you arrived, I was playing Pokemon.
Okay,
I was like,
cool. Was this a recent one or one of the
It's
oldest?
Let's Go Pikachu.
Okay, cool.
Which is more fun than the new Sword and Shield one.
Okay, yeah, I heard that they missed out like a whole bunch of like previous generations from like the Pokemon roster.
Yeah, and
But
it
that's
looks
not
crap.
cool. Oh, okay.
And it's just uninspiring and no charm, no anything. Whereas Pokemon Let's Go is it was the original 150.
Okay.
So that's like a game from my childhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember playing Red and Blue on my brother's Game Boy, like sneaking into his room. I hope he doesn't listen. Sneaking into his room and playing on it. I used to always sneak into his room and he had Shaun of the Dead on DVD.
Okay.
Which was a 15.
Yes.
And I was about 7
Oh,
or so.
okay.
And I'd sneak in and I'd get it and I'd watch it and it'd be like really naughty.
yeah.
Probably shaped the way I am now.
I see. When you so you saying that actually reminds me of I had a similar experience. I remember for my brother's 15th birthday, he got a copy of Bad Boys 2 on DVD, which of course he was perfectly allowed to watch that now because my mum was a bit of the same, but I was allowed to watch it just with 0 volume on.
That's incredible. That's brilliant.
I remember sort of, looking around me and being like, I'm going to turn up to 1.
And a minute, Chris!
No, I'm going to do it on 2 and sort of press my ear up against the speaker.
And the minute you hear like a floorboard creak, you're like, zero, mute.
Yes, I just straight back down. But it was one of them that had I didn't have a remote. It just had the buttons that would click on the TV.
Really?
So it'd be
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay, good sound effect.
well,
Okay, well before we kick off, let's do a brief. Oh look at me taking the helm,
Mate, it's
Chris.
cool, mate.
Tell us
Mate.
about Chris. Take the helm.
Just take the helm.
So it would be good, Chris. It would be good to find out about your meditation business.
Yes. So of course we are still at it very much. I wouldn't say I've necessarily had anything that's like considered life changing or like anything like a massive awakening or anything, but I do think that it is helping on terms of just the way that I look at things, and I think I'm almost sort of approaching thinking patterns a bit more calmly.
That's good. That's what it's about.
Yeah, it's as opposed to just having a whole clusterfuck of something and trying to see from all of these different angles, and that it's a bit
unimagined potential.
Yes.
And then you realize and you pause and you go, wait a minute, this is all nothing's happening right now.
Yes.
I'm just sat here worrying about all these things, but nothing's actually happening. This morning I knew today was a big day. I needed to do a voiceover commission that I got, and I needed to record some more of my audiobook, which is now available on Spotify.
Oh yeah, I was actually going to get you to do a plug on that.
There you go. Her War. It's free. So just
tell us about your book, Tom. Since we're here, mate, tell us about it. Come on, man.
That old thing.
5 episodes in, and you've never said a word about it.
I realised that. And I haven't even said the name.
Like, let them know, man.
No, my book.
Yes.
I always get funny talking about my book because people say, "Oh, what's it about?" And I go, so it's kind of this thing." So it's difficult, but obviously it's a fantasy novel.
Right.
I have a real affinity for fantasy.
Okay.
Probably because I grew up on stuff like Lord of the Rings is something that really inspired me.
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to do with Her War is I wanted to take the adventure and scale of Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Because I was, obviously Game of Thrones is huge and George Martin's writing was huge, etc. But something I had a problem with George Martin's writing is that he relied a lot on sex.
Yes, there's a lot of fucking...
And I know sex is important because his main critique of Tolkien is, how did all those hobbits... Why wasn't there a sex scene in the Hobbit or Lord of the Rings? And I'm like, if it doesn't impact the story, we don't need to know.
Yeah.
Whereas obviously George Martin's writing is very much to do with like sex and slander and lust, etc. So I wanted to take...
Have you read Game of Thrones?
I've read the first book, and then when I got to the second book, I was just like, this is such a drag.
Did it like go into like great detail about them fucking then?
It does.
Oh.
Like the nipples stiffening and the wetness between admittedly, I have a sliver of sex in book one.
Right.
But it's very brief.
Yeah.
And writing it was weird. But what I wanted to capture was the you know when you kiss someone for the first time.
Right. Yes.
And there's that anticipation of, oh my god, who's going to do it first? Mm-hmm. And then it happens and it's like euphoric.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to capture more than we're banging. Do you know what I mean? Because they're both very young, both characters. But that's what happened in medieval times. You were married very young. You were married at 14, 13, etc. And they put a baby in you straight away.
God damn.
Because you'd be dead at 20.
Yeah. Yeah, real talk.
So George Martin was doing too much sex. Tolkien, when he was describing the landscape, was poetry.
Okay.
And then a character would open their mouth, and I'd be like, that's not how people talk.
Right.
Everything was, he cried. Aragorn cried. Frodo cried. Everyone... It gives the impression, I'm going to come away from the mic, it gives the impression that everyone's talking like this through the whole book. Hey Frodo, how you doing? I'm right next to you, Gandalf. You don't need to shout. That's
okay, right, we cannot talk about Lord of the Rings without doing a Gandalf impression.
I was doing it in my job yesterday. I went, hey, look at this party trick. Okay, I'll give it a go. I haven't warmed up.
Blaggin! That's amazing. He's going to do it again.
I have to lean so far away from the mic. What's he saying?
Blaggin! Do not think of me as some conjurer of cheap tricks. I'm not trying to rob you. I'm trying to help you.
Mate, we need to tweet this at Ian McKellen.
Yes.
Someone take this bit, cut it, and just keep sending it at him till he sees it.
We've got you covered, Ian. If you need to go, if you need to move on, I've got you covered.
Yeah.
I must take the ring to Mount.
So the book. But the minute they open their mouths, everyone's crying. Everyone's having sex in
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. And then I wanted to take American Horror Story. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard a lot
American
about it.
Horror Story and House of Cards with Kevin Spacey. R.I.P. Kevin Spacey's career.
Nasty man.
No, don't get me started. Anyway, the dialogue that they have is so rich and melodramatic. Like everything they say to each other is like, I'm gonna fucking kill, or like poetic, and like the way they use imagery and stuff like that. So I wanted to take all these elements, the adventure and scale of Lord of the Rings, the kind of the character depth of Game of Thrones, but the melodrama and poetry of American Horror Story. Those three aspects, put them in a blender, and that's my style. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's very it's all about relationships and how people talk to each other and the way things are said. And I think I've got that benefit of being an actor, is that when I'm reading an excerpt or a piece of dialogue comes to me, I say it how the characters, and I experience it in that way because I've got that acting training as well.
Yes.
So that's kind of what the series is about. And the problem is that I had a fantasy series before, and it was going to be 5 books, and the first book I wrote was 800 pages long.
Right.
It was almost 500,000 words.
I think it's crazy.
And then I got to book 2, and obviously everything increases in size when you get to book 2. So I was like,
Right.
Jesus Christ, if book 1 is 800 pages, book 2 is going to be colossal.
Yeah, we're looking 1,200 maybe.
Yeah, and it was so, rereading it was so flabby and so, there was gems in there, but you had to wade through all this shit to get to it.
Right.
So I cut it. I killed my darlings, as Stephen King says, and I was like, I'm not going to continue that series. I'm going to take all the good stuff out and put it in something that's more condensed and more refined. Really, Queen Seeker, which was my first book, was the first draft of Her War.
Right. Okay. It was a very ambitious first book.
But I think that's a good thing, because I kind of went. A lot of people, when I was learning how to be a writer, they were like, start with short stories.
Right.
And I could never start with a short story because everything just got big so quickly. Even with Her War, King's Creed, the thing I'm writing at the moment, it was going to be 1 book. It was going to be Her War, and the main character was Renea, and it was her story of her regressing from innocent princess to kind of Breaking Bad, but in a fantasy setting with a woman, with a strong. I knew I wanted a female lead who was like. It didn't matter that she was male or female. Her gender doesn't come into it.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? She's powerful because of who she is and what she goes through, etc. It was going to be 1 book, and then I was like, oh no! But then there's this other character, and he's like half a world away, and she thinks he's this, almost like in BioShock Infinite, you know, the false prophet thing.
Yes.
Oh my god, this person's prophesized to come and fuck things up for us. So then there was him, and then I was like, oh no, and then there's this other guy as well.
Yeah.
And then something happens with all 3 of them.
Okay.
And
We're going to need a pin-up board of just all of these characters, and this
did
is
that.
such and such, and he's connected to this person by this.
Oh, I actually have that upstairs. Like, I have every single character, and then a line between them of whether they're related, whether they get married, or whether they kill each other, and it's just a mess. It's not even got the intricacy of a spider web. It's just a ball of yarn.
Okay.
So suddenly 1 book turned into 3 books.
Right.
But I know it's 3 books now. There is no way. And then I look at George Martin, and I don't know. We'll probably cut this chat, Chris, because it's just I'm just talking about myself too much.
Mate, I brought it here.
Okay.
Like, you know.
George Martin is like, if a servant comes in the room, he needs to have a backstory, and you need to think about his family and da da da. And I was like, I don't want to. And I was like, okay, that's what's selling, so maybe I should be doing that. But then I was like, no, I don't need to. That's not the story. I don't want to get distracted every time someone else comes in the room. I want it to be these 3 their story.
Well, it's a lot to keep up with.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I was like, no wonder he hasn't finished the series yet. And 3 books turned into 8. Because he's like, every time someone else comes in the room, he's like, and what did they have for breakfast?
And when this guy was 5 years old, he experienced this and this. But then it's like, well, we never saw them again. What was the point of that?
Or they get killed. And it's like, and so I know that's not what I want it to be. This really focused story about these 3 characters and how they are related in a way.
Okay.
And the kind of way they interact. How much. I'm inspired by family a lot. Family drama.
Yes.
And obviously the cord between family is blood.
Mm-hmm.
But how far are we pushed towards our ambitions where that connection doesn't matter anymore?
Okay.
Where you would do shit things to your family to get what you want. And that excites me. Like the excuse of, oh yeah, but we're family.
Yes.
And that's kind of what happens in it.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes, so it's 3 books, and then there is a 4th book, which is an epilogue, which is a spin-off.
Okay, cool.
which again is almost like The Last of Us or The Road in a fantasy setting. But I know that you could read that on its own. It isn't part of the series. It's called The Dawn Child, which I fucking love as a title. That's so cool. If I do say so myself. But I lost the first 3,000 words of it.
You lost them?
I wrote the best chapter I've ever written for this. It was the first chapter in the book, and it was the character who's got an awesome name that I can't remember. He's got a wicked name, but I can't remember it. And he was just walking through the woods, and it's winter, and he's following a deer, and it's really intense and really like tactile, like the way I was describing the sound and the snow crunching underfoot. And then this child appears, but children have been extinct for 40 years. Shit. And he's like, they were culled, they were killed out for a reason.
Right.
That happens in King's Creed.
Okay.
But you don't need to know that. You just need to know there's no such thing as children. All children have been wiped out, and then boom, there's this child. What? That's weird. And it was awesome. It was such a good chapter, and I lost it when I transferred from laptop to iPad, and I didn't back it up. And I love my iPad. I back everything up. I use cloud storage. Like cloud storage is my bread and butter. Everything's on the cloud. Right. So that if that snapped in half. Yeah, I can pick up another on my phone. It's all on my phone. So if I get an idea when I'm not driving, if I've got an idea where I'm not with my iPad, boom, boom, it's on the phone. Everything's connected. Everything's going. So that's a bit of an insight into Her War is on Spotify.
So mate, let them know where we can find this. So yeah, we can find it on Spotify as an audiobook.
It's on Amazon, obviously, as a paperback book and as a ebook as well, so you can have it on your Kindle. I don't even know how we got on to be talking about my book.
Because we were talking about how today that was part of you were recording.
Wow, is that... Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, well, tell us about it, because we were 5 episodes in and we haven't heard a word about it.
I remember what we were talking about. This is a good thing. Imagine if we were doing a podcast and we didn't have chat. But today I knew I had to finish a voiceover commission. I had to record my audiobook. I wanted to go for a sunbed. We had the podcast to do.
Of course.
I needed to chase acting clients about a certain thing. And I had all this stuff I needed to do, and I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I need to be productive today. And then the kitchen was a mess when I came downstairs. Toby, my cat, had brought in something from outside, and that was on the bottom of the stairs. And I was paralysed by like all these things that had to be done.
Yes.
Where I was like, oh my God, I need to do all this. And then I was doing nothing because I was paralysed by the thought of doing everything.
You have no idea where to start.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why with meditation, you approach it with it's about approaching stuff with that calm sense of self.
Exactly.
So I was just like, right. So then the meditation, the yogi guru in me was like, right, Tom, calm down. Nothing's getting done if you're just fannying about. So start with I've had this thing called the 2-minute rule, which I learned from a YouTuber, where if something can be done in 2 minutes, just do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Then it's done. Then you're productive. So like, taking the recycling out, cleaning whatever Toby brought into the house off the stairs, etc. Make a cup of tea. But yes, so meditation, you feel, has allowed you to approach things with more of a sense of calm.
Yeah, I think it definitely has. I mean, I've sort of had a lot going. To be fair, I think a lot of people have had a lot more going on up here.
I've just had my filming cancelled.
Oh,
I'm fuming. That's really annoying.
Do they at least state why?
They've cut down the number of contortionists they needed for it. Anyway, carry on with what you were saying. I shouldn't be checking my phone. That's really naughty.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that a lot of people have probably had a lot more going on upstairs, with having to be inside, not being able to work and things. So I think that it has allowed me to sort of, look at all of those things in a much more relaxed way. So it's like, okay, well, let's keep doing this.
That's good, yes. So, there's a lot going on in the world, even, and it's all amplified through social media and stuff, like obviously with the Black Lives Matter protests, etc. There's a lot of crap stuff going on. Yeah. And so it can be really disheartening. And so meditation is a good kind of cradle or something to fall back on when stuff gets too much. Like recently I've started to slip back into an old some negative emotions. I started to slip back there. So today I was like, right, I need to get back into the meditation, and that's the thing. Meditation, it's kind of, there's two ways of going about it. It can be this religious thing that you do without fail.
Yes.
I've kind of used meditation more as a tool for when I'm get a bit off the rails and I lose track a bit.
Yeah.
I need realigning. That's what I use it for, so, which is useful.
Yeah.
It's like good therapists will give you the tools that you need to get back to home
Yes.
when you feel overwhelmed and out of control.
Yeah.
So meditation is good for that. So yeah, keep at it. We've got one more week to go.
We do, yes.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I think it's only going to continue afterwards. You know, as we said, it's a muscle that needs working.
Yeah.
So if I'm already sort of, seeing a change in the way that I think about some things, so okay, well, what will happen in 2 months?
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing to look forward to. It's that.
Exactly. So shall we have our intermission and then crack on with the topic at hand?
Let's.
Insert intermission sound.
Yes.
All right, cool. You feel good, Tom?
I feel great. I've just had a Kit Kat.
Okay, I feel good too. So the point of this episode, that, as I suggested to you yesterday, was I wanted to cover the idea of self-improvement. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that we recognise certain areas in which we may be lacking, and I personally think there's always room for improvement. So, what are your thoughts on self-improvement? Is there anything in particular that you think off the top of your head right now that you think, oh, I could do that better?
Yes. So actually, yes. Cool. So I've started keeping a gratitude journal.
Okay.
I think it was at the start of this year actually. I had something shifted where I kind of realised that the way I was doing stuff wasn't making stuff happen. Okay,
Right.
So I really got into like productivity videos and also mindfulness as well, in terms of on a day-to-day basis getting
Yes.
more out of life. And one thing I was watching last night, the person talked about what for you defines a good day.
Okay.
And then again, we were talking about.
Did you have an answer for that question?
I'm getting there, Chris.
Okay. Okay. Never mind.
So what I've started to do is keep a gratitude journal, and I do this on my phone, but a lot of people do it in book form as well. But I've got messy handwriting,
Okay.
so there's something nice about having a thing, and I've tried several times to try and keep it in a book form, but I give up
Okay.
because it's so anal having to draw out each day. Like I'd color code each thing, and like the structure would have to be really rigid. Whereas on this app Notion, which is incredible and free.
Okay. Not sponsored, by the way.
No. You can set a template, and then every time I want to do my journal, I just press new journal entry.
Okay.
So if I show you now, obviously this isn't great for a podcast, but so gratitude journal. So on here I put in the date.
Okay.
And I've made it fun with little emojis and stuff. So morning, so I'll do this. I'll wake up at like 8 o'clock in the morning and I fill this out. What did I dream? Because I've been trying to keep track of my dreams. Sometimes I'll forget them, but other times I'll remember them, and so I put them in there because dreams are the brain processing stuff.
Okay.
Like one day I watched something about with Dame Emma Thompson, and then she was in my dream. Like so I've been doing that to like keep track of my dreams. What are 3 things that you're grateful for?
Okay.
And sometimes this will be stuff like my family, my job. It might be silly stuff like the fruit smoothie I had for breakfast. Mm-hmm. Sometimes for me it's cold water.
Yep.
I finish all my showers with a burst of cold water because it just really wakes me up. It invigorates. Like I'm just like. Yeah, there was this whole thing about like the cold water, cold shower challenge, like having cold showers for 30 days. And I was gonna try it, but I was instantly, when you feel it's cold, you're like, no.
Yeah.
So I have cold bursts of shower. So sometimes it'll be cold water. Sometimes it might be yoga.
Okay.
It might be my cat, my chickens, etc. Looking forward to. So I think we should always have something we should always greet the day with something that we're looking forward to do, whether it's go for a walk, whether it's I'm having a barbecue tonight, whether it's I'm meeting up with my friend, whether it's I'm writing some of my book. Mm-hmm. Every day we should have something to look forward to. And if you can fill that out every day, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or you've always got a highlight of a day. Every day should have a highlight so that the day doesn't pass and you feel like nothing. Like this, like pod. So today's entry, things I'm grateful for were my phone,
Okay.
my brother, and flowers. Because
Okay.
flowers are pretty.
Okay.
I wrote looking forward to being productive,
Yep.
which, as we talked about already, I knew today was going to be a busy day, and the podcast. What under my control will make today even more great? So that's about reminding you that your time, and this is so important for productivity.
Yes.
Who anyone says that, there's not enough time in the day, that your time is yours. You are completely in control of time. The amount of times you've been sat on the sofa endlessly scrolling through Instagram,
Yes.
and you're like, there's so much to do, but there's no time, and you're sat there scrolling through Instagram. Your time is yours, yeah?
Yeah.
One
It-
chat.
Yeah, it depends. It's all relative to what you do with said time.
Yeah. So what under my control will make today even more great? It might be exercise. It might be try to smile more. It might be try to be kinder to, help someone across the road. It might be
just do something nice.
The
a
other
random
day I
act
was
of
driving to
kindness.
work and someone was walking along with their bike and they dropped their car. They dropped their bike in the middle of the road.
Right.
And there was this pull within me to pull over and help them pick it up because it was an elderly person. And I'm annoyed that I didn't. But it was a kind of main road through town. So, but do you know what I mean? Little stuff like that. So like that's reminding me to be present and to be aware. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? That I'm in control of my day. That it's never an outside external thing. I'm in control of everything.
Yeah.
This is a good one. If I lived more consciously, freely and courageously, I would ...
Okay.
So that might be if I lived more consciously, freely, and courageous. So I lived more aware, more freedom, and with more courage. I would let go of the memories of my ex-partner.
Okay.
I would smile more. I would not jump to aggression if I feel someone's making a personal attack at me.
Okay. Yes.
I would. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like a broader self-inward goal.
So this is like a constant
I've been doing
reminder
this.
of self-improvement.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been doing this for over a month, so every day.
I'm really glad I came up with this as a topic idea. I didn't. Like, I had no
We're
idea
just
this was
scratching
going
the
on.
surface. But yeah, this is and so what else? Sorry, I'll wrap this up. I am. So an I am statement. So affirmations are so important for self-belief, self-development, self-improvement, etc. So we kind of talked about before, I don't know if we did, I just can't remember. Every time you look in the mirror and you go, who's that ugly bastard?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
we're-
I'm so ugly. Whereas if you change that to, I am beautiful.
Yes.
I am enough.
Yes.
I am
absolutely.
I am strong. I am
Yes.
bold. I am in control. I am brave.
Unless you actually are bold and you're very insecure about it.
Bold with an O. not bald.
I know.
You're being
I had to.
pedantic.
I had to. Yeah. I'm being facetious.
So yours would be, I am facetious.
Right.
So that's an I am statement. So my I ams as I am creative, I am strong, etc. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So affirmations are, because then you start to believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you affirm it,
Yeah.
it starts to come into being, which we're going to get onto.
Sometimes you can speak something into existence.
Totally. And then most important thing to focus on. So it might be, I need to get some more milk today. I need to make sure I do an hour of exercise. I need to phone such and such. Yeah. Then it's on the paper and it's not, you don't worry about forgetting it.
Yes.
And then there's a daily intention. This is something I added myself. And this would be an I choose statement. So this is something that a daily intention is something that you will it will be where you come from that day. So it might be, I choose abundance. So in every situation during the day, you choose abundance. So if I feel like I'm being pulled on both ends by my partner, I feel like they're being unfair, they're expecting certain things, I choose abundance. Okay, that means I walk away, I say no to that. Do you know what I mean? My boss is being particularly harsh on me at work. I choose abundance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It might be I choose freedom, I choose courage, I choose bravery, I choose kindness. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? And all of these words that I'm saying, aren't they all positive words?
Yes.
So imagine starting every day with this like burst of positivity, this burst of mindfulness, this burst of consciousness.
Yes.
And then you carry that through the day. You start as you mean to go on. So if you wake up and it's a drag to get outside of bed, it's a drag to get into the shower, my life's terrible, all of this stuff, of course that's what's going to, law of attraction, that's what it's going to be.
Yes.
Whereas start the day with that mindfulness, that awareness. And then I've got a notes bit where I might put some notes throughout the day. And then evening is 3 amazing things that happened, 3 things that could have gone better. And then what did you learn today? Because if you can go through every day learning something new,
Yeah.
good on you. I've forgotten what the question was, but that's something that I've been working more towards with self-improvement, is being more conscious and mindful of, every day little increments of mindfulness, which adds up to a broader perspective of what it is to improve.
So did you have like a particular moment that made you think, okay, I need to go through with this, or did you just come across the app and thought, oh, that's actually a really good idea, let me give that a go?
This is a personal question and story.
Okay.
I was talking to someone on a dating app,
Right.
and they were mental.
Right, okay.
They were-
We need to be sensitive here when we say mental.
No, like sociopathic. Like they messed
Right.
me up.
Right. Okay.
They did and said things that were mind-boggling,
Right.
and they
Do you mean like
kind of like mental abuse.
to you?
Yes,
Right, okay. I'm with
kind
you.
of leading me down a path,
Right.
and then they cut and said, "Oh, you can trust me. You can rely on me. You can depend on me."
And
then the minute that I started to accept that, because my issue is I have trust issues. So
oh mate,
like,
I'm right there with
do
you.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
putting my trust in someone is huge. And so I had this barrier and this wall, and then I let it down. And then the minute I did that, they went, "No, it's too much. You're too much.
Yeah.
You're broken. You're broken. You're doing this. Yeah. You need to sort yourself out." And I was sandblasted. I was, broken. They'd broken me down, but
Right.
they didn't do the building back up.
Right. They just tore everything down and then just left
when I
it.
was trained in acting, they break you. There's that famous thing, or if you're trained to be a police officer, they break you down, they build you back up. But I was torn down, and then I was just like, I was just on the floor with all the pieces of myself, trying to put them together, like getting 2 parts of a jigsaw puzzle that don't fit together, going.
Yeah, you've got Pritt stick, you've got freaking I don't know, sellotape,
Yeah.
gaffer tape,
And I was and it blocked my creativity, it blocked my self-esteem, it blocked everything. And so that was a conscious moment where I was like, right, I need to get out of this rut. I'm the only person that's getting myself out of this rut. So I started watching productivity stuff on YouTube, mindfulness, etc. They talked about the app Notion, having gratitude journals, etc. And that's kind of where it came from. I don't know if that's the same as... It is self-improvement, really, because I feel like I've come out of it with a more awareness of self and stop trying to please other people.
Oh, exactly.
And be selfish. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah, well, we need to.
Yes.
Unfortunately, like we as humans are naturally selfish. The problem is that some are far more selfish than others. And I think that over the past couple of years, I've definitely learned that I give far too much to other people.
Yes, because you want to be... Because you want the same back. You just want to... We just want to feel safe around people.
Yeah, and unfortunately, so some people... I mean, we are just people, and some are just fucking awful, and just take... full advantage of that, and at the end, because their idea of being selfish is far higher than yours, it will just be fuck that, like I'm cool with this, and then you're just
You're left high and dry.
It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It does not matter to me. And
you feel cut out.
What? Yeah, 100%.
And you're like, oh my gosh, well now I have nothing. Now, so I have nothing. So you've got to build a sense of self. You've got to be secure in yourself.
Yes.
And know your worth.
Yes.
So that if something doesn't work out, whether it's romantically or on a friendship level, you're not left kind of going, oh well, I have nothing now. You've got to be abundant. You've got to live abundantly. You've got to. I have so much. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Not I have lacking.
Yes.
Not I have not.
Yeah.
I have.
This has been a beautiful turn for self-improvement and sort of touching on relationships too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we as human beings, we all crave relationships, don't we? We all crave connection.
Yes.
But the thing is, where it gets toxic is if
you put so much weight into it.
Yes.
And it almost.
It becomes your identity.
Yeah, for most people, your relationship becomes your identity. It becomes your world, and that's it. Like your very being is this external idea of a relationship and these people.
Yeah.
And when you lose that, it feels like you lost everything.
Like you lost a limb.
Yeah. Essentially, and it becomes so difficult to deal with because now you have to remember what it's like to be on your own again and
to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah. Exactly, and it's fucked.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah. But I would say usually people who, like, for example, the person in my story, it was a notice how we both have similar posture now. We're mirroring each other. It was also a demonstration of a lack in them. Like the minute they saw me putting my trust in them, they kind of went, "Oh my god, this person's putting their trust in me, and I don't know what to do with that. I'm panicking." Do you know what I mean? It was them panicking and jumping ship.
Yes,
that's kind of the way I look at it now. Is that
it was very much a them issue.
I mean, I did put them on a pedestal, and I went, "There's this person who understands me."
Yes.
And they were afraid of that, but then again, that's a sense of insecurity themselves. So that's my kind of self-improvement origin story. How about you? What for you is what's your journey so far with it?
So I feel like for me the biggest thing that I need to do in terms of self-improvement is my patience.
Okay.
I just find...
In terms of what? Contextualise that.
So I currently have a situation I won't go into because I'm still very much living it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have been very much lacking patience from the beginning, since it began, really. And I'm very much, if there's a problem, I don't see the point in waiting to solve it.
Yeah,
or just sort of
find a
sitting back.
solution.
It's like, no, we can do this right now, and then we can just move on from it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, not everybody works like that. And it's almost quite selfish of me to think like that and expect somebody else to just be like, no, we're going to sort this out right now.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want to. It's like, well, I do, and it will make me feel better if we sort it right now. So we're going to.
Yeah, so to get a bit psychological...
Yes.
Do you think that comes from a place of, it links back to meditation? Everything links back to something. But from a psychological perspective, do you think that is a response through fear? Because you are not enjoying this discomfort at the moment.
Yes.
And so you want to get through, the part of you that's afraid of this wants to get through it as quick as possible because you're panicking, you want to get through it. Whereas actually, if you were to go through it and weather the storm and go through the fire,
yes,
you may come out as porcelain. Do you know what I mean? Do you think maybe you're trying to jump the gun of this restorative, because it's healing? Like if you cut yourself,
yes,
it's very easy to shout at the cut on your arm and say, "Why won't you heal?"
Right. Yes.
But that's not going to work.
Yeah.
The fibers need to come back together. I don't know any medical terms. It needs to scab up. It needs to heal. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And then it's healed, and the scar is there. But you can't just shout at your wounds.
Yeah.
If I broke my leg and just shouted at my leg and said, "Come on, bro, come on, leg. You remember what it's like to be fixed."
Yeah.
It's got to repair itself. So I think, does that resonate? Like, healing, there's a classic thing, healing takes time.
Yes, and I'm very impatient with that. It's giving, it's not just giving the situation time, it's giving the time.
Yeah.
That I'm just like,
It will happen. It
it's
will
like,
come.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of like anxiety there.
Again,
Just, like,
there's
I'm so uncomfortable with uncertainty.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I need to know. I'm only comfortable with things that I know
Yes,
is
you've
going
got
to
fear
happen.
of the unknown.
Yeah, it's like, I know I'm going to, go to work on this day. And I know that I'm going to be finished at that time because that's the hours I do. And then
So you like structure and routine. So again, does that not sound to you like the illusion of control that I was talking about earlier?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
And the reason why meditation will help in terms of that is because it's that power of letting go and letting it be. Because you worrying about it, it doesn't make it go quicker.
No, it doesn't do anything.
It's outside of you.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that patience is something I have to... And it's not even just with, like, life situations. It's also, like, even something as small as, like, when I'm gaming or something.
Yeah.
My patience to just... Instead of swearing and shouting because I lost,
That's me all the time.
like it's just like, okay, well, actually, if I evaluated why I lost... And sort of be like, oh, do you know what? No, they were the better player because they did this. When if I had done this,
so approaching from a more reflective thing, rather than that emotional place, the reactionary place of this is an insult and an assault to my skill. Don't take it personally. It's just gaming. Your affirmation would be, I am patient.
Yes.
I am calm, etc., like that. And people do this like religiously, like before they go to bed, they'll say, I'm patient, I'm calm, I'm da-da-da-da-da-da. And they'll wake up, I'm patient, da-da-da-da-da. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just giving yourself a little mental note, a little reminder, I am patient, I am calm, da-da-da-da-da, etc. So maybe that's something to consider, like the affirmations and stuff. So in terms of... I'm sorry, no, I'm not leading it, go on.
Mate, no, you have an idea. Let's go.
Okay, so in terms of self-improvement, how do you approach changing a habit or making a change? How do you go about doing that?
How do I go about doing that? So, again, going back to what I was saying about the whole gaming stuff, like, again, I see it as, okay, well, I just need to change the way that I think in general with it. So as opposed to being like, so like sometimes I'd be like, well, that guy's just sad because he obviously plays this game all the time and I don't because I have to go to a job and all this. And it's like, well, I don't know anything about that guy. He probably has a job too.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, no, you were just bad. Or like, I'm just bad at this game. For whatever reason, I just suck at it. And that's fine because I can get better if I had the patience to learn.
Yeah.
And spend more time with it for whatever reason. It's more changing my thinking about it.
Exactly.
And as far as things go with like, my situations or like my conflicts with people and things, I can't control the way that people think. I can't control the way that they feel. I also cannot control the way that somebody takes something that I've done or something that I have said.
Yes, yeah. So you're not responsible for how someone else feels.
Exactly. If I say something that wasn't meant to be offensive, but you take offence to that, I have no control over that. I can apologise for it, but it doesn't do anything as there's no point in me being like, well, why are you offended by that? It's because they are.
Yes.
Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah, someone who I used to speak to and don't anymore was very offended when I would say, I'm not responsible for how you feel. And they would say, yes, you are. Of course you are. You have a degree of responsibility for how I feel. And I went, no, I really don't. I can't get inside you and change the wires or flip the switches that make you feel a certain thing. There's just how you respond to stuff. I have a responsibility to be kind and humble and respectful, etc.
Yes.
And if I haven't been those things, that's my responsibility. But if I do something that makes you feel a certain way, it's your feelings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you feel the way you're going to feel regardless of how hard I try and impact that and change that.
And I think it's quite toxic for people to put that expectation on someone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To say because no one wants that kind of pressure or that responsibility. Do you know what I mean? And then you start to become reliant. If that person makes you happy, makes you experience happiness, that's when you start to become reliant on them. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
So some of the things you kind of mentioned and hinted at, just to kind of contextualize it and get it into a workable model in theory. Teacher Tom's coming out.
Okay.
There are 3
Teacher Tom.
Teacher Tom show. In my opinion, there are 3 levels to self-improvement.
Cool.
The core is identity, who I am, the essence of me.
Yeah.
Then there are the habits, the things I do. Then there are the outcomes.
Okay.
There is the expected, what will happen as a result of that.
Yeah.
And the problem with self-improvement and change is that people work from what result do I want, and then they work inwards.
Okay.
And the problem with that is that, let's say I want a 6-pack,
Right.
I envisage the result,
Yeah.
but I won't keep up with that.
Tom the Rock Baker.
Yeah, Tom the Rock, yeah, imagine me, yeah, really fit. But they don't keep up with that because you've already reached the you're kind of going into the nothingness, the never sphere, and you won't sustain it because you're working on the result.
Yes.
Whereas what we need to do is work from the inside outwards.
So if you start from, I just want to be fitter in general.
Exactly. So one thing is, so again, it comes back to affirmation. I am a fit and I exercise because I'm a fit and healthy person.
Okay.
So by doing that, it's not based on external results. You're saying, I am this thing because this is who I am. Mm-hmm. I don't need that chocolate bar.
Yeah.
Because I am a fit and healthy person. If you're on a diet, I can't have that chocolate bar because I'm on a diet. Can you see how that's external?
Yes.
I can't. And what you do is you'll end up having the chocolate bar because you haven't changed. It hasn't been a conscious decision that you've made to not have the chocolate bar, but you've been influenced by this is why diets fail. You have this external thing that you're being, but it isn't part of you.
Yeah.
But if you like chocolate, you're going to have the chocolate bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wanted to give up drinking. I was drinking quite heavily.
Right.
So I said, right, I can't drink. I'm not going to drink. And I didn't last long on my sober streak. And it's because I needed to say, not I can't drink because it's bad for me, but I don't drink because I'm a healthy person. Do you know what I mean? And that slight shift of the identity will affect the habits. The habits will change, and as such will achieve the desired result. So if you're walking around going, in terms of affirmation and law of attraction again, I am impatient, I am angry, that's what will be.
Yes.
So I need to be more patient. I am patient. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Expect that it's already a part of your identity.
Yes.
Live like that person. Mm-hmm. If you want to, I talked about putting a suit on last week to you about how putting on a suit makes me feel like so much more in control. And
it feels different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I'm putting that into being.
Yes.
So by
you associate suits with
success.
Success. Businessmen they're usually expensive or whatever. You usually see most people that dressed like that, they got the nice cars and all that.
Yeah.
And they look the part.
Because I'm living that life. Whereas if I want to be more patient, it's very difficult to exercise the result of that without fundamentally changing who you are on the inside.
Yes.
So the problem, as I say, is that people work from the outside in, whereas it needs to be a change of identity before you can have the results. Because if the person stays the same, the result, the outcome, isn't going to materialize because the person you're still going to do the same habits.
Yes.
Because you've worked from the outside instead of working from the inside. So that's a little bit of advice for people in terms of how to go about self-improvement.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to challenge our listeners here to actually take a moment to think about an area that you may be personally lacking, whether that is, your relationships, maybe you're really bad at responding to people's messages, you know, I mean, personally, I think I might be a bit too good at it, to be honest.
There's always the the amount of times I've Googled how long should you wait before you reply to a text.
I think that's a very big red flag there. Tom. You might be too good. Yes.
Yeah, but
I mean, like you apologised to me yesterday for not responding because you were at work. You have a job, Tom. It's fine. Like, honestly.
Yeah,
Like, don't worry about it.
I think it's because I expect people to answer me straight away. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
I expect.
So that's you now being like, well, because I expect this.
Yeah, I'm projecting
this
onto
is
other
now,
people.
This is now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's, you know, they say you should treat others how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, which is cool.
But
you have.
But not in ignorance of what that person is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
because
actually-
I imagine that if you were to send a message, especially to like someone you were like romantically interested in.
Yeah, courting.
And yeah, you were courting them and you messaged them and you hadn't heard back in like an hour. You are probably biting your nails and being like, "Oh my god, have they lost interest in me?"
I was teaching a drama class once with like and it was a group of girls, and I was like, "Girls, they haven't responded to me. What do I do?" And they were like, "Cut it off, move on, it's over." I was like, "Yeah, you're right." And then they'd reply, and I'd be like, "Oh no, actually, they replied."
Oh no, they're here.
It's just fallen into that vicious
How
cycle.
long had it been since they replied?
About 20 minutes.
Well, right. Okay. Exactly.
I go from 1 to 100 so quickly.
So maybe just, you know, relax, bro. We've all got things to do.
It's probably an indication that you need to get a life and be more involved with what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Chris, but the control freak in me is snatching the helm off you, okay? Captain Tom is back in charge of the ship.
Okay.
I'm going to steer this bad boy.
Consensually, I would just like to. Like to add, yes.
Cool. So, Chris, we've talked a bit about self-improvement, but why go there? Why go on the journey to self-improvement? So what I want to talk to you about is fulfillment and finding purpose. What does it feel like? Have you experienced in your life a time when you have been without a purpose?
I feel like, I mean, absolutely, yes. I think especially when I was around 15, 16, I think, you know, most people, they seemed to have had a very good idea of what they wanted to do with themselves. It was very much like, oh, I'm going to go to sixth form and I'm going to study these things, or I'm going to go to college and do this, that, the other, which then leads me to go to university to do this. It seemed like people had like years worth of, you know,
plans.
Yeah, of a plan. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm kind of fed up with academics. Like, I feel like I've done my time.
Yeah.
So, but then I had essentially nowhere to go with it. And at this time, I wasn't exactly serious about the music stuff. Like, I hadn't found a studio or an engineer, and, you know, everything was just a bit like, it was just something I did for fun.
Yeah.
Really, it was like, I just occasionally write some stuff and it's kind of cool, I guess. So, yeah, no, I definitely had no sense of purpose at all then. It was very frustrating and also quite worrying, because I find that I need to remind myself a lot of how, well, young, in air quotes, I'm considered to be.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, why haven't all of these things happened?
Not only in terms of age, but also in terms of experience and knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah, so, well, because you're 25, Chris. That's why you.
Yeah.
That's why your life isn't figured out yet, because you're 25.
Yeah.
I remember listening to. Have you heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? They call him Gary V.
No.
So he's one of these like public speakers, and I remember listening to a thing that he said when he said, "Your 20s are the years for you to rebel."
Yeah.
Like, these are the years you want to use to go against the norm and be like, I want to do this, because chances are you're living at home, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have a family to pay for. This is the time, as good as any, for you to say, fuck all that.
And try.
I want to pursue this ridiculous, seemingly unattainable thing. Like, now's the time more than ever.
Yeah.
Because when you end up with a family and you know, you have
Yeah,
a job.
yeah, you're tied down to those
yeah,
responsibilities.
You're trapped.
Yeah.
So that was very much like, okay, so I'm actually right on time.
Yeah, exactly. You've got all the doors are open to you.
Yeah, there's actually nothing for me to worry about here. Like, you know, this guy is doing great.
Yeah.
And he's telling me that my 20s are for my fuck shit.
Yeah, he must know something.
Yeah.
So my advice to people who are struggling, who feel a bit purposeless if that's a word, is to, or like, what would you say to someone who doesn't know what their talent is or what their need? Do you know what I mean?
That's a great question. Somebody that doesn't know. I mean, surely you know what you're passionate about.
Well, that's the thing. This is what I'm getting at, is that if you don't know what your talent or passion is, go out and find it.
Yeah.
You need to start doing stuff rather
Yeah.
than sitting and wallowing in, oh, I've got nothing to me.
Yeah.
Go try loads of different things. See what, it
Exactly.
might be learn how to code. It might be learn a language.
Yeah.
It might be, if it's the arts, audition for shows and stuff. Or if it's writing, then write something. But like, if you do feel that you are without a purpose and without fulfillment, it's an indication that you've got some like identity stuff to do. There's some work that needs to happen in terms of finding your niche, your path.
Yes, and I think it's good that you've said this, because I find that whilst you're discovering what you're passionate about, like, just be mindful that this is actually what you are passionate about, and it's not what the people around you
Yes, that's
are
a
passionate
really
about.
good point, because a little phrase that I think I woke up at like 5 a.m. this morning, and I turned to my phone and I wrote, in terms of finding your passion or how to live, is without apologies, without permission, with grace. So without apologies. So don't apologize for who you are or what you do.
Absolutely not.
So don't
Unless you're purposely harming people.
no, yeah, facetious, Chris. So without apologies, so don't take half measures. Don't go a bit like we talked about last episode. Don't put your toe in the water. You've got to go all in. Don't worry about what other people think or how other people are gonna receive it, because people only care about themselves.
Yes.
People spend so much brain power and time going, oh my gosh, what do they think about what I'm wearing? They must be saying this. They must be thinking this about me.
Oh, the amount of times
No.
I've been in public,
Yeah.
and like, somebody in the distance has like laughed at something, and I thought, oh my god, are they laughing at me?
Yeah.
And I'm like checking, and I'm like, have I got like bird shit on me or something? Like,
Very specific.
I know, but I do that. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what happened? Is there something on me? Like, because it's got nothing to do with me.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, people are so wrapped up in their own stories that they are not thinking about you.
Yes.
So don't waste the brain power or time, or make apologies for yourself.
Yes.
And your worth and your potential by apologising to them without permission. So no one is going to give you the green light to go ahead and do something. As I said, all the doors are open. Everything is there. We live in such a resource-rich time right now where everything's on YouTube. How to code a computer, how to learn a language, how to travel, how to, garden,
Yes.
how to write. Everything's right there. No one is going to give you the green light and say, yep, you can do that now. If you want to do something or pursue something, you are in control. It is your responsibility to bring that into the fold.
Absolutely.
No one is going to say, right, yeah, now's your time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, here you go. Now you're allowed to do this.
Yeah.
Like that's fine.
So without permission, unapologetically, yeah, but with grace, with a sense of mindfulness and poise and respect.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
A sense of humility, I say grace, that's not just external, but it's also to yourself. So that's the idea that if you get something wrong, or if there's a hiccup, or there's a hitch along the way, there's a bump in the road, having the grace to be kind to yourself and say, that's part of the process.
Yeah.
This is bound to happen. Nothing in life is easy.
No.
And anything that was easy wasn't worth having.
No.
That's a quote in book 2. It's a more refined version, but it's true. Like, anything worth having is difficult.
Yes.
So you've got to have grace and not be disheartened when it is tough, and when it is an uphill battle.
Yes.
So with that, Chris, what are you most proud of? What would you, in terms of self-improvement, when self-improvement has worked best for you, What are you most proud of, and when have you grown the most?
What am I most proud of? So I would say for me, personal achievement wise, it would be, we talked last episode about how last year I put out 2 projects. That was something that at the beginning of the year, I had one of those New Year's, like, oh, this is what I want to do this year. And majority of the time, none of them happened. So yeah, I had one of those moments as I want to put out 2 projects this year. And that one seemed to, I put like a list together. It's only like 4 or 5 things, but that one seemed to be the most unattainable.
Yeah.
And admittedly, the rest of them I didn't get done, but I got what seemed to be the most difficult one done.
Yeah.
So for me, that mattered more than the rest of them.
Yeah.
Granted, I cut it a bit close. I mean, the second one didn't come out till December 27th.
Yeah, you were really...
So yeah, it was close, but for me, it was massive.
Yeah, and was it comfortable? Was it an easy ride?
No.
So this is the thing, another thing in terms of self-improvement, seek discomfort.
Yes.
If something is uncomfortable, if something is not easy, that's an indication that on the other side of it, there's something worth having.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, because you cannot grow as a person, and this leads on to when have you grown the most, you will not grow, you will not develop, you will not evolve if you do not work through those points of hardship,
Yes.
of discomfort. Think about when I was talking about my situation in February, it was uncomfortable and it was really difficult. And what happened? On the other side, I like to think I blossomed and I became porcelain once I'd been through the fire, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
And likewise with you, rather than trying to escape the discomfort, go dive into it, because it's more than likely that there is something to be found there. Because if we all lived our lives in a comfort zone, they always talk about get out your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But you never really appreciate that phrase until you've experienced it.
Yes.
So do things that, another thing I heard, interesting people do interesting things.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
I mean, I kind of had the same. It's a little less poetic.
Yeah.
I remember speaking to a friend of mine about like all of these like rappers and the people that I look up to and what I think about them, and I was like, mate, all of the best rappers have had fucked up lives.
Yeah.
It's like they just have, because they have all this stuff to talk about, and it's horrible stuff.
That's what my photographer said to me last week. A photographer doing my headshots. At the start of lockdown, I got a thing through from my agent for a Tesco advert commercial, and I was working in Tesco at the time, and I was like, the stars are aligned. This is it,
Mate.
Tesco Tom. And then I was talking to the photographer about this, and he said, "Oh, I know the guy who got that." And I was like, "Shut up!" And he had like he'd just come out of prison.
Oh, wow.
For all these things, like he was tattooed to buggery, etc. And he was like, he's got a story to tell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you're right. Interesting people do interesting things.
Yeah.
And have things happen to them.
Yeah.
And the discomfort is what will make you stronger
Absolutely.
and more resilient.
The comeback is always stronger than the fall.
Yes, that's nice. See, there you go. That's poetic.
Yeah. You can have that one, guys.
That's what we're here for. When have you grown the most?
When have I grown the most? So I would say the year 2017, it was arguably the worst year of my life, but at the same time, it was also the best year of my life. On terms of identity, it was the best year. On terms of the way that I felt, terrible.
Yes.
Absolutely awful.
Yeah. Again, discomfort.
Yes. I was living in Reading at the time. I was in a
gosh, I remember.
Yeah, as I was living in an unhealthy relationship. It was a mess, to be honest. I was in and out of jobs. I think I had about 10 jobs that year.
Yes, I remember.
Only one of which actually fulfilled me. The rest of them, it was just bad managers or, shady. Like, I'm pretty sure that one of the jobs I had was definitely underpaying me and not paying tax in the building kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, this isn't great.
Yeah. It's so annoying when I started a new job and everything's broken. The printer's broken, the system's broken.
Yeah.
And out loud I went, why can't I just work in a job where things work? Why can't I just have it happen?
Yeah. And the one job I did have that is still the best job I've ever done, actually. We closed for like a 2-week Christmas period, which I've never had a job where that happens.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but the relationship came to an end.
Yeah.
And I moved back here.
Yeah.
And of course, I wasn't going to travel to Reading every single day.
Yeah.
And it was like I had to walk away from it. And it seemed like the one time, like I've spent this entire year going through all of this bullshit. And the one time I was like, yeah, this is great. I love doing this. I love everyone that I work with. And I love what I do. And I felt needed in that
Again,
job.
fulfillment and purpose, yeah?
Yeah, it's like, I was doing 2 people's worth of jobs.
Yeah.
I had this little department spot they gave me, and I loved what I'd done. And it was just like, I finally figured it out, and it would be, that one time that it's like, oh no, you've now got to get rid of that, you've now got to walk away from this, go backwards, take 10 steps back.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was awful. But it taught me a lot about, that I can go through a lot of this shit. I've experienced a lot of different things now. Like, I try and be funny and say to people, I've walked so you can run.
Yeah.
So, like, you say, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, and I can go, no, I've done that.
It's made you wiser, yeah, it's made you wiser.
Yeah, I've done that. It's not worth doing, mate.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, I've been there. Yeah. They don't pay you great. The hours suck.
Oh, no.
Like, it smells bad or whatever, like.
Oh, gosh.
And it's also taught me what I want and what I definitely don't want out of relationships.
And that's invaluable advice.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I look at now differently. And it's like, oh, okay. So I remember when I got with my most recent partner, and I said to them, the moment you start showing tendencies of them, you're gone.
You're out.
It's like that's just it. Bottom line.
I think I've got a similar thing now as well, where, my thing is, if you try to change who I am or what I do, then I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, that's manipulative bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. You like, relationships are, like, you should complement each other, not change each other.
Yes, yeah.
The way I see it is kind of like, it's like I'm building a cake with many layers.
Building a cake, baking a cake.
Baking. Well, I can build one. What if I want to make a sculpture out of it?
Okay.
You never seen, oh God, what show was that? Oh, I don't know. It was on one of them weird channels that done story channels and stuff.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, well, some people know what I'm on about. But yeah, so it's like, you've got all these different layers to it about obviously what makes you. Yeah. And this person coming into my life should almost act as like the blanket of icing on top of it. Everything stays the same.
Yes.
And in the same proportionate sizes.
Yeah.
You just make that sweet layer over the top.
Oh. That's cute. So any ladies out there wanting to be the sweet layer blanket of icing, it's at Chaynes.
Oh, dear me.
Beautiful. Okay.
But what about you, man?
What about me? My proudest moment.
Yeah.
And when I've grown the most, my proudest moment. Oh gosh, I don't know. Proudest moment. Okay, right, I'll blitz through it. So, in my 3rd year of training, in the last term, we do a play at the Royal Stage in Northampton, and I can remember over the summer. I think it was the summer period. No, over some break, all the plays got released, and everyone was like reading the play that they wanted to be in, and did all this prep, did all this stuff, and I did none of it.
Right.
I didn't read any of the plays. I had no expectation of what I wanted or anything, which is probably lazy of me, naughty Tom. But then I went in and we did the audition. It was a group audition. I still had no idea about any of the characters. I hadn't researched any of it.
Right.
And then I landed a major part in one of them. And I was like, holy crap, that's weird.
Yeah.
And it was like a half an hour monologue. So just me talking for half an hour, which, as you can imagine, was great for my ego. But I was sat with the director, and I think it was like on the first night of rehearsals, and his name was Dominic Rouse. He's he's probably, I'd put him like up there as like someone who had a massive influence on my not only my sense of self but also my career.
See, that's something that I wanted to touch on as well. Like
Yeah.
our sort of quote heroes and influencers.
Yeah.
When it comes to our craft.
Okay, well, we'll put a pin in that.
Yeah, but do continue.
But he said to me, "Oh, so Tom, did you get the play you wanted?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, to be honest, I didn't research any of them. I thought I was going to be in the play Posh, because that was about a bunch of, I think, Oxford students at a dinner party being racist, horrible, homophobic. Like, it's a comedy where they're just showing how outrageous
that usually screams comedy, racism,
no,
homophobia.
no. I'm talking about like the it was an ironic, a satirical piece about how the right wing, conservative side are so ridiculous.
Right.
So I thought I would get put in that because I was like, that's very much my lane.
Right.
And Dom said, when you did your audition, you had a wonderful sense of. He was like, no, you'd been wasting that play because you've got a wonderful sense of sensitivity and vulnerability, which is why I wanted you for this play. Right. And I was like, I've never been perceived as, I'm usually the, prickly prick who like is always sarcastic and stuff like that. But someone saw in me the vulnerability and the sensitivity, and then that was rewarded with this fantastic role. And I was really proud of it. Yeah. And because it came from a part of me. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not that I'd read the plays or I'd studied anything particularly well at the end of the day, which is all external. It was the fact that it was a part of me that was being recognised and praised. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And a part when I've grown the most, the one that kind of stands out the most is, it was in 2016, my father unfortunately passed away. Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Yes. And then in 2017, what happened? Something happened. I think I got cheated on in 2016 as well. But then in 2017 is where it really hit. No, actually, I think this is complete bullshit. I think it was 2016. So we can retcon everything we just said about being similar. I think it was 2016. Anyway, both these things happened at once in one blow.
Murphy's Law.
And I was like, oh gosh. And that's when I started getting into meditation and kind of chakras and Christology and stuff like that. Because when someone passes away, I think you do try and find, I wouldn't say distractions, but some kind of meaning.
Right.
It kind of reminds you of like your mortality and you look for some kind of meaning. So for me, it was crystals, like the power of crystals. Like, can I stop feeling this way by holding a bit of amethyst or something, or by meditating, etc. And that this girl wants this girl. There's someone in my course who's a Christian, and it's the only time I've taken Christianity, and the only time it's ever benefited me.
It's funny how that works,
Yeah. But what she said to me wasn't very religious. She just said to me, and it was around the time I got cheated on, she was like, "Oh, have you forgiven the other person?" And I was like, kind of." And they were like, "Have you forgiven yourself?" And I was like, what? That seemed like
talk your shit, whoever you are.
That was like a really foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
The idea of forgiving yourself. And I can remember one time I did this.
Well, did you find yourself like, when you sort of became privy to this information, did you find yourself being like, well, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I didn't have. Maybe I'm not as funny or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
but I probably punished myself a lot as well. And she said to
Exactly.
me, her name was Jen. She said to me, whatever you've done in the past, forgive yourself for it. Because she had quite a dark past as well, and she said, forgive yourself for it. Or everything you've done wrong, every time you've ever lied or you've punished yourself, forgive yourself for it. And it's a really foreign concept to me. And one time I was playing an instrumental piece of music, and I was doing some movement improv to it, which is quite therapeutic. Almost like a moving meditation, but I didn't know it at the time. And I did this piece, and then I led on my bed, and I said out loud, I forgive you, but to myself. And I burst into a stream of uncontrollable tears.
Right.
It was like this weight had been lifted. There was this awakening. I forgive. It was like the world had cracked. And I cried for about 20 minutes straight.
Yeah.
And as I did, everything came unraveled. All the knots that had been tied up loosened, and it just fell out of me, which is a gross image. And that is a pivotal point where I can remember that was transformative in terms of like spirituality and self-awareness, self-improvement. All the pillars of this conversation that we've had was this idea of I forgive you. This forgiving,
literally
open,
That's literally all it took for you to say that. And to be fair, I really relate to that in a sense of, I remember when I was going through all of the stuff back in 2017, and I remember speaking to a friend of mine shortly after, and I said to him, I was like, the thing is, mate, like right now I can sit here and I can talk to you for, until the cows come home about all of this situation. However, there are certain sentences that if I say, I know will break me. And he was like, okay, well, don't say those then. And I was like, no, I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
And like, I could easily talk about how much it sucked and all of the crap I was going through. But as soon as I said, I don't want to hurt anymore, mate.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, it just...
Oh.
Yeah, gone. Yeah. Every time it's like, I just don't want to. Like, it's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, same
It's a good
thing.
bit of dialogue. I might take that line. It's quite nice. I don't want to hurt anymore.
Overwhelming. And,
Again, discomfort.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jeez.
This is the Under the Skin episode. I hope people appreciate this, like, vulnerability. And so maybe that's our closing comments to people is weather the storm, work through the discomfort.
Absolutely. Yeah. It will benefit you massively, even though it doesn't seem like it right now.
Yes. Yeah.
And I listened to a guy called Jocko Willink. It used to be in the SEAL teams, and he now does a lot of motivational speeches and
They
stuff.
do, don't they? The
Yeah.
military people, the military types.
Yeah, and I listen to this piece almost daily from him that says about Murphy's Law and seeming that when things go wrong, it seems like absolutely everything goes wrong at the same time, and it's really hard to deal with, and it's easy to feel beaten. But if anything, it's not the time to give up. It's the time to do the absolute
It's time
opposite.
for action.
Yeah,
And
it's time to go on the warpath, as he says.
And on the warpath, I love that. I love aggressive imagery. I love being on the warpath. Because I'm a man.
Man!
But there are people who are in a very bad place.
Yes.
Which is why I want to reach out and say to them things like meditation, mindfulness, gratitude journals, etc. Because it is never as bad. And they just need they need their North Star who can tell them that. Because they're not always going to believe it. And it's very easy for me to sit here and say all these things. But we have all hurt and there are ways to get out of it. And we need to help each other a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
With that stuff. But, okay, so cool. Happy?
It's beautiful, man. Well, Tom, this has been an interesting episode. What with sitting on the floor, leading...
It feels natural now, doesn't it?
I mean, there's nothing weird about it now.
No.
After spending the last hour or so just sat down here, this is now just kind of been
Embrace the discomfort in your knees, the aching muscles.
We seem to have also exposed ourselves.
Yes, it's been... Well, I even said, as soon as we sat on the floor, it's more vulnerable. You just... I don't know. Sitting in a chair is very formal, isn't it?
Yes.
This is a man-made object, whereas... Look at my cat on the floor. This is how our ancestors sat around the campfire. This is a big image. The microphone is the campfire. We're telling stories. We're finding things about ourselves. I don't know, man. There's something there.
I think we're going to sit on the floor next week is what we're saying.
Oh, maybe. As long as it's colder and it's really warm today.
So what do you feel the people will take from this episode, Tom?
What I want for people to take from this episode is without apologies, without permission, with grace. So
yeah, just do you.
Yeah. Embrace the discomfort. Embrace that all is life. Make sure you've got those resources, whether it's meditation, mindfulness, gratitude journals, your North Star. People that give you life. Take it all as it comes, and remember that whatever hardship you are experiencing is going to make you stronger in the long run.
It's beautiful, man. I agree entirely. As per usual, you can find me on the Instagram and on Twitter at Real Chaynes. Chaynes is spelt Chaynes. You can find us on the Instagram as a podcast as the Blaggin It Pod. We do have an email address, which is blagginitpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to, send suggestions about maybe some talking topics you want us to cover.
Yeah.
Some feedback about how you relate to us, or you can just cuss me out and tell me how much of a prick you think I am.
That's not true.
That is absolutely fine
That's
by
what
me.
you've got me for.
But, this has been a blast. Take care of yourselves. Don't be a dick. I appreciate all of you. Chris is leaving the chat.
Oh, this feels very unearthly. You can find me at _Thomas J Baker on Instagram and Twitter. Or you can check out my website, thomasbakeractor.com, for inspirational messages. And you can also sign up for some acting classes if you want to learn how to do the things I do. Thank you so much. Yes, have a good week. Tom Baker has left the chat.
You've been listening to Blaggin It. And now, your usual program.